please don't call me arrogant, because what I'm saying is true. I'm European champion, so I'm not one of the bottle. I think I'm a special one.
He began in the shadows.
Jose stood behind me, listened, learned, looked, wrote, remembered.
When he got his chance, he didn't just grasp it, he throttled it.
Relatively early in his career and what he's won so far, if he carries on with that, then he is going to be up there with the greatest and possibly the one that you put on top of all of them.
Mourinho is a great coach and so thorough with details. He prepares for games like nobody else.
I'm not putting pressure on you about we have to win. I don't want to put that kind of pressure, but we cannot lose. We cannot lose.
I don't think failure is a word in his dictionary.
His players would do anything for him.
And that was his best thing, I think, that he had a great connection with all the players.
He has the credentials to be the best we've ever seen.
There are many ways to become a great manager, but mostly I believe that the most difficult thing is to lead men with different cultures, with different brains, with different qualities, and I think to manage this is the most important quality.
Champions Leagues, doubles, trebles, countless manager and personal awards. Many moments already stand out in Jose Mourinho's career, but one announced him to the watching world. With Porto trailing Manchester United in the last 16 of the 2004 Champions League, Costinha scored. Porto were through, Manchester United out, and Jose Mourinho's career was off and running.
Crucial moment for my career was my first season playing Champions League, and to go with Porto and beat Man United at Old Trafford and score a goal in minute 90 or 91 was a magic moment for me.
Jose Mourinho was born in Setúbal, southern Portugal, with football in his blood. His father Felix was a professional goalkeeper, but his son's playing career would never really get off the ground. However, that would not restrict the aspirational young coach.
Like a player, you have to be born with some natural talent, and after that there are many ways of becoming a top manager. I don't like to say that to become a great manager you had to be a great player, because in this moment you have many of us in the top and we weren't a great player. So there are many ways to become a great manager.
Mourinho got his break at Sporting Lisbon, thanks to an Englishman.
Jose introduced himself to me because the president couldn't, said who he was, what he was, and that he was to be my interpreter. Spoke very good English, good-looking guy. Told him not to stand next to me too many times, and we got stuck into the job. It was as simple as that.
It gave me a great chance of work at the top level when I was so young, and that for me was very important.
I needed him on the pitch every day. Stood behind me, listened, learned, looked, wrote, remembered.
When Robson moved from Sporting Lisbon to Porto, Mourinho went with him. He was no longer an addition to his managerial team. He was a vital part of it.
Is possible? I was an interpreter. Why? Because I could speak English and nobody else could do it. That's the reality. But to call interpreter to somebody that was preparing matches, analyzing, coaching on the pitch, to call him interpreter, I think is from the beginning the wrong words, but not a problem for me.
I asked him now and again to write out a tactical appreciation report on opponents that we're going to play in the very, very near future. I have to tell you, he produced the best tactical and appreciation of how our opponents played that I've seen.
I was with him in 3 different clubs, around 5-6 years together, and we were the extreme, a young boy that wants to make a career and of course help his boss, and in the other way, a top manager in Europe in that time.
Porto won the 1994 Portuguese Cup, followed by the league in 95 and 96, before Robson and Mourinho moved to Barcelona.
One thing I did like about him, whatever I said to him to tell the players, I always got the strong feeling that he was saying to the players exactly what I was saying and in the manner I was saying it. And I have to tell you this also, that in all the 3 clubs that we worked together, Sporting Lisbon, Porto Football Club, Barcelona, all the players, knowing that he wasn't a great player, he wasn't one of them as a player, but they liked him, appreciated him, and they totally respected him.
After 3 cup successes at Barcelona, Robson was replaced at the Nou Camp. But Mourinho stayed to work with Dutchman Louis van Gaal, winning 2 league titles. In 2000, Mourinho was ready to go it alone as manager of Benfica. He wouldn't last long. After a row with the president, Mourinho quit to take charge of a smaller club, União Leiria, steering them to 5th, their highest ever league position. Mourinho's detailed reports and analysis of opponents caught the eye of Porto, where Mourinho and his coaching team would make their mark.
The way we work is, I think, is different from most of the managers. When we think about the method, when we think about what to do in relation with the team to organize the team to play the way he wants, my contribution is in a complement of his ideas.
With only a few months of their first season remaining, Mourinho was already planning ahead.
What we did in that first 3 months was like analyzing the situation, preparing the next season, and what happened after is history.
In Mourinho's first full season, Porto won the league in record-breaking style. Won 27, drawn 5, lost just 2.
It was a great time. It was a great time for me to put the team in the right place in the Portuguese football. And we could do, in 2 consecutive years, we did 2 trebles.
Porto followed the league win with victory in the Domestic Cup, before beating Celtic 3-2 in the UEFA Cup final, to complete an incredible treble.
We made history because it's the first time this cup goes to our country, so it's fantastic, and at the same time we did also history because we won in the same season the Portuguese league and the European competition. It's fantastic for us, and I'm proud of the kids, and I'm also proud because the match was an incredible match.
The following season launched Mourinho into superstardom. Porto had won the league, but their win over Manchester United in the last 16 of the Champions League grabbed everyone's attention.
To go with Porto and beat Man United at Old Trafford and score a goal in minute 90 or 91, when everybody was thinking we were out of the competition, was a magic moment for me.
After a quarter-final win over Lyon and a narrow victory over Deportivo La Coruña, Porto would meet Monaco in the 2004 Champions League final. Mourinho's men were supreme. Goals from Carlos Alberto, Deco and then Ilenichev clinched Porto only the 2nd European Cup in their history. Rumours had been rife that the ambitious Mourinho was leaving Porto for English side Chelsea. The moment the cup was won, it was clear he was already looking forward.
It's almost for sure my last match, but I think in 2 years' time we did it great, and I'm proud of myself and proud of the players, and we made history. I have to keep working and try to get success in my next step.
Another page had turned.
I think it was an incredible time for the club and for myself, because after that I went to Chelsea and I felt very well prepared for that challenge.
That was immediately clear at Mourinho's press conference on arrival in London.
Please don't call me arrogant, because what I'm saying is true. I'm European champion, so I'm not one of the bottle. I think I'm a special one.
He'd sat down when he walked into Chelsea and brought all his staff in, introduced them, and explained that he wanted to win, and was quite sort of adamant about it, really, in his way. Very simple. We're going to be winners now, and everyone bought into it straight away. So he had that thing where he was so organised, where so many things he said came right. Players just believed in him, and once he had that, I think he had the trick there at Chelsea, and from then on we just went on from strength to strength.
And as Chelsea began to dominate the English Premiership, their coach was captivating the British media.
I think he's brought a new dimension to the press conference, to the pre-game build-up.
Nobody asked me my team. Do you want to know my team tomorrow? So why don't you ask me?
What's your team tomorrow?
It's too late. I'm sorry.
Not everyone loves it. Some people think it's too much, but you cannot argue with how he does it, and he only does it for one reason, that's to win.
No eggs, no omelets.
And I know it's made in this huge personality, which he is now, pretty much worldwide.
And depends of the quality of the eggs. And some are more expensive than others, and some give you better omelets.
It's part of his game. It's not 90 minutes. He builds up in the week tactically and with the team, and I think then he tries to get the edge in his press conference.
And please write what I say, not what you want me to say. Because sometimes you write not what I say, but what do you want me to say.
And I think it worked. It certainly for me worked at times with us, because at times we'd be created a them against us kind of attitude when things were getting tough for us.
You can feel that everybody is against us, but that's fun. That's good for us.
And he was always at the forefront of that, so I think he knows how to handle that, and he never shies away from it. He'll always stand up. Whether he does something that people see as a mistake or not, he's doing it for the good of the team and for the good of the club.
In 2005, Chelsea stood on the verge of their first league title in 50 years. The team personified their manager's self-belief. Mourinho had worked it out.
I know that for a top team like my teams normally are, we play around 50, 60 matches a season. And you cannot have meetings of hours with the players, because hours and hours and hours is too much. So we have to try to make very objective meetings with the players.
After that, the last defensive block is the 3 attackers against the 4 defenders. So defensively is easy to analyze, is easy to control, and you cannot concede goals playing playing this way. We have to play for a result. They play for a result, we have to play for a result. We cannot lose again. I'm not putting pressure on you about we have to win. I don't want to put that kind of pressure, but we cannot lose. We cannot lose.
And in maximum of 10-15 minutes to make them feel, understand, smell, know everything about the opponent, without losing never our philosophy, without losing never what is the most important thing, which is you have to play the way you want to play. But if you know the enemy, if you can use that strong words, you are better prepared.
Chelsea secured the 2005 Premiership title at Bolton Wanderers to end their long wait.
To win the Premiership after 50 years was magic for the club, and everybody that was in the club at that time was feeling that magic.
It was hugely emotional for all of us. I think for Mourinho himself to come and do it in his first year was an amazing achievement. The most special probably moment of my career, certainly my club career, and I think my career in general, that first year of winning it, because of you could feel what it meant to so many people, and saying again about how together we was, and it was like a family. When you win as a family, it feels even better than you win with certain individuals. So we felt as a group so special that year.
Players feeling like family is a running theme through Mourinho's career. It's much more than just a working relationship.
To be fair, I think it's something that happens naturally. I give the maximum I have to give them. I want them to give me the maximum they can.
He's very good at it. He's very clever. I think he's a good man for starters. I think everyone sees, people who don't know him see the image of him on the line and certain things. But when you see him behind the scenes, I find him very easy to get on with. We still get on very well now on messages and stuff, and he manages to get a firm bond with his players.
Tell us what you think of Jose Mourinho.
Brilliant. Best manager in the world. You know, no one compares to him, really.
And once you have the players behind you in that way, I think you can really get the best out of them. And at Chelsea we had a fantastic squad of players, and so once we had that extra bit from the togetherness of everyone, we knew what we could do, and we didn't fear anybody. We thought we could beat anyone, and that was all transmitted through him.
We established this kind of empathy, this kind of relationship, and I think it's good for everybody.
In his second season at Chelsea, Mourinho delivered a second title and the FA Cup the following year after a 1-0 win over Manchester United in the first final at the new Wembley. Mourinho's formula had proved successful in both Portugal and England. But Chelsea's Russian owner, Roman Abramovich, who had invested millions on players, wanted more. In September 2007, despite 6 trophies in 3 years, Mourinho left Chelsea, reportedly by mutual consent. But he was still a man in demand. 9 months later, he accepted a job as head coach of Inter Milan. He was under the microscope again.
People sometimes is unfair with Italian football. People sometimes say the championship is not so good, the quality is not so high. Depends on the way you look at it. The press is, in my opinion, a very good one. Every pundit, everybody that writes in the top sports newspapers, they are very, very well prepared. They are very critic, but critic in the positive way.
Inter was a big challenge because everyone speaks about the tactical managers in Italy, how important is the tactics, the strategies in football, and was in fact a big challenge for Jose.
I have to adapt. I have to learn where I'm working. I have to understand the culture of the football country. I have to understand the culture of my players and my team.
In a minute, you could be changing your structure, the idea of the strategy for that game, and in the same minute, the opponent, even if was a manager from a small team, he was adapting to you. So it was like a continuous fighting in the tactical point of view.
I think it's the most difficult country. Coaches are very well prepared. Players, they have a great mentality for that. Teams are very, very well organized. Every match is really difficult.
There would be no better test of Mourinho's tactical genius, however, than a particular Italian-Spanish clash in the 2010 Champions League semi-finals.
When we played the semi-final against Barcelona and we played at home the first match and we had a meeting, of course, you know, if you play against Barcelona, it will be very difficult. But after the meeting, I was quite sure that we could beat Barcelona, and we did it.
Mourinho and his team delivered a tactical masterclass to nullify the Catalans. They eventually won 3-1 with goals from Schneider, Maicon and Milito. The second leg saw Inter reduced to 10 men. But Barcelona's 1-0 win was not enough. Inter were through to the final. It was a triumph for Mourinho, and he knew it. The Champions League final would see Inter meet German giants Bayern Munich. Mourinho's team dominated from the start. A goal in each half from Diego Milito secured victory and an historic treble for the Italians. They'd already won the Italian League and Cup. Inter captain Javier Zanetti lifted the famous trophy.
Mourinho is a great coach and so thorough with details. He prepares for games like nobody else.
There's no one like Jose. With all the respect for the other coaches, but I had an amazing year.
It was a great experience for me, and again, the same way with Chelsea was tough, but highly motivated to try to be champion with a team that was never champion. Try the same thing with Inter. Was not succeeding in Europe also for about 50 years.
After his problems with Roman Abramovich at Chelsea, Mourinho seemed to have no such difficulties with the president of Inter, Massimo Moratti, who put Inter's first European Cup since 1965 down to one man.
Fantastic trainer. He works a lot, he's intelligent, and he surprises people sometimes with his ideas. He's a communicator, he's a motivator. Not easy to find one person all these qualities.
The Mourinho managerial package had delivered 5 trophies in 2 years. He'd proved himself in Italy.
Try to do it with Inter was also pressure, because the club was almost demanding that, the supporters were almost demanding that, but at the same time, great experience.
The reason why we won is because we have also men like this in the group.
It was arguably the greatest success of Jose Mourinho's career. But even on that night of triumph in Madrid, his mind was elsewhere, thinking of his next step. An outlook familiar to many.
I think he looks forward. I think you can see that in his demeanour at certain times when he's won big tournaments. You can see his face. It's kind of, he's not caught up in the moment completely. He's got an eye on probably the future and what's going on next, and he was always like that.
You can have one eye on the future, but moving on is not always easy. People are left behind, and Mourinho was never one to hide his emotions when it came to saying his goodbyes.
He can be very emotional when he takes the responsibility of a team in a club. The way he's involved with all the process represents his emotional side.
It was a sentiment shared by many of his players at all his clubs.
I would say the most emotional moment I've had in football, because I didn't quite see it coming, and he'd been so huge for me personally, and I'm sure a lot of players will tell you the same.
That was his best thing, I think, that he had a great connection with all the players, and that's why we won a lot of prizes.
I've never actually got too attached to anything emotionally in those terms, because football, you always understand that it moves on. Managers move on, players move on. But with Mourinho, I'll never forget the moment of sitting in the dressing room and seeing him go.
Just try to be honest with them, fair with them, and be together all the time. Good moments, bad moments, try to be together all the time is something that happened naturally.
In May 2010, Mourinho moved to the Santiago Bernabéu and Real Madrid. He was immediately faced with one of his biggest challenges, overcoming Pep Guardiola's mighty Barcelona. In Mourinho's first season, Barca beat Real to La Liga and knocked them out of the Champions League on their way to winning the trophy. Mourinho will not stop until he's succeeded in Spain, as he did in Portugal, England and Italy. Then, perhaps, he will finally settle.
It's a personal ambition. After the last experience, if I can call it Madrid and Spain, I can be in a great position to say, this is what I want, this is where I want to be.
He's been a top-level coach for barely a decade, but no other manager has achieved so much so quickly. In 2011, he added the Spanish Cup to his glittering achievements. It remains to be seen how Jose Mourinho will deal with a period of failure, but perhaps that will never happen.
I don't think failure is a word in his dictionary, so it's a word that he doesn't know.
But what he's got is a certain magic, and that's what makes him different, and that's what puts him up there with the Fergusons, the Shankleys, and whoever the manager you want to go for in time.
He's an amazing coach. He's a huge coach, a huge person as well. I think he is the best coach in the world.
I think experience after experience, I'm growing up a lot. And to be successful in all of these countries, I'm happy with this. Until one day I go back to England, because it's the one where I was the happiest manager in the world. But until I go to stay, this way around the football of Europe makes me feel very, very rich.